Strange Adventures, issue number 11. That's right, folks, we're nearing the end. We got one issue left after this, and this mini-series has been something I've enjoyed immensely. It's been really fun, the artwork has been incredible, Tom King's writing has never been better, but I'm going to say this before we get into the book. I think when it comes to Tom King, it's hard for him to nail the finale sometimes. And I don't know if what this issue presented sets me up to believe the finale is going to be great. This issue, very solid. It depicts a lot of the stuff we've seen in the previous issues, which I think kind of sucks because I was like, yeah, you already told this story, especially the past story, a bunch of times. So let's start there. Let's start with the Doc Shaner part of this, where we look at the past. And of course, this book jumps around from the past into the present. And basically, we see that Elena and Adam are going into the Arctic ruins of Ran. They are pretty much trying to find these ancient beings that live in Ran. And what they call them, the Morns, the Morms. And they're these big looking owl people. And they're these sacred creatures on Ran that don't really interact with people. And basically they're you guys are having a war. The Pict are crazy. They came here because they want to talk to us too. Basically, we want to help you end this, so we will act as peacekeepers, negotiators, just a neutral territory, so you guys can end this war. So the big snowy owls let Elena and Adam go end this war pretty much. And we see them riding on them for a bit, and when they get there, we see the last of the Rand soldiers show up, and basically it's just all right, the Pict are surrendering. Adam is we did it, we ended the war, this is the end. And when you think it's going to be a peaceful surrender, Adam kills the final Pict soldiers, literally shoots off one of their arms, and this is where I'm okay, Tom King, I love you, I respect you, I get it that you were in the CIA, and maybe you've done things that made you feel like you weren't the hero and you have to justify it in your eyes. I just feel I felt the hate in this issue more than the rest of them, where it's you kind of tried to make Adam redeemable in previous issues. This one, you're just no, he's not redeemable. And I don't know, I think something about that, you could look at it a bunch of ways. I don't know, you could look at this a bunch of different ways, but I just think this interpretation towards the end of this story in particular, this issue, I think it sets up Adam in a really negative light, which I throughout the entire run, I think it did a good job portraying the sacrifices Adam had to make in war, and then actually seeing if he loved doing these mass murders and killing people, pretty much genocide, if he was comfortable doing that and he enjoyed it, as compared to this is the hardship of his life, and now that he's finally really willing to admit it, how is it affecting him? But I think this issue just proves he's a stone cold killer. And we see that after they finish off the Pict, they're just celebrating and mourning the loss of their daughter throughout all of it. And as we learned in the previous issue, their daughter is not actually dead because she is secretly alive somewhere, which will be the other part of this book. But again, that's where it ends. We see that somebody's okay, we miss our daughter, we ended this war, all the sacrifices we made, they are for something. And again, it's fine. This stuff, they've done so much of it already, showing the sacrifices Adam had to make. I guess it's kind of cool to see the end of the war and how the Ranians, is that what they're called? I can't remember, but they're just willing to kill the Pict even though they're sacrificing. That's interesting. Now, the rest of this issue does take place where we ended off issue 10, where we learned that Mr. Terrific kind of figured out that the book and some of the things that Adam was saying using Bible verses in this stuff is his way of telling his daughter, the things I did were for you to justify it, and I hope you can forgive me for the actions I made. And when Elena reads this, she's okay, what is wrong with you? And again, it kind of feels stretched out. I don't know, this issue, there's a lot I like in it. Again, the artwork is fantastic. It's gorgeous to look at. But I think in these moments when we just we had the big nail drop moment in the last issue, it's these moments right here where you can feel the Tom King stuff just doesn't work that much. When, Adam and Elena are swearing every other panel, it's kind of annoying. And pretty much throughout all of this, we see that Adam's denying the actions, and you see that Elena is throwing drinks at him and slapping him around, just trying to get him to confess the truth. And when eventually he does confess the truth, it's kind of interesting. Again, it feels very stretched out because you're looking at some of these panels. It's like Adam picks up the drink, Adam looks at the drink, Adam drinks the drink. You're just like, you could probably have told this in less. But basically, what's being presented here is Adam had to make a choice, and the choice was he would give Aaliyah up to the Pict in a way to stop the war, and in doing so, him and his wife and the people of Ran would be spared if they held the daughter captive, and they didn't do anything to her. And so far, Adam's like, they held up their end of the bargain. Like, the war's over, we're safe, everything is going according to plan. And she's pissed at him, and for good reason, because she's like, you could have just told me the truth from the beginning, and I mourned our daughter's death. Like, I literally sat there and mourned it, and you watched me mourn her. And Elena's like, oh, I'm going to have to tell the Justice League. I'm going to tell real heroes the bullshit choice you made. And that's when Adam pulls out the gun. And this is again, like, you can't come back from this. This is like Hank Pym slapping his wife. This is that kind of a moment. And I'm like, you didn't need to do this. I get it for the tension, but like, there's other angles I think would work better than this moment. So Adam pulls out the gun, and he's just telling her, like, you can't tell the Justice League, you can't tell anybody. I'm going to kill you if you think about telling people the truth of how this war ended, how we stopped things alive. Our daughter is okay. She is safe. So stop being this person. I think it's interesting. It's a fun area to explore, but Elena's in the right here. She's clearly in the right here. And I don't know if this book's trying to say that Adam should be in the wrong, but you've done a good job of making Adam a sympathetic villain or like the sad clown. I don't know if making him this character works anymore, and I'm not sure I like it. So they kind of just like, she's willing to like, okay, if you're going to shoot me, shoot me. If that's what you're going to do there, do it. And then kind of she tussles with him a bit. They pull the gun away, and it's intercut with like the scene where like she's getting the gun away from him before he pulls the trigger. And there's like in the past when they were on like the snow planet with the Morms, and it's just like, I love you, I love you, I love our daughter, everything's great. And then we see in the final moments that there's a gunshot that goes off, Chekhov's gunshot, and we see that it looks like Elena shot Adam. I don't know how I feel about that. It's predictable. I don't think predictable is a bad thing. I just think you went this route with Adam, and now it feels like you're just like didn't back up the facts and you just like let him get away with it. I don't know if Adam's gonna be dead. I doubt he'll be dead, but it just feels like you can't justify his actions anymore. And like the idea that the Pict have his daughter, it feels very kind of obvious. Like there's stories we've seen like that before. It's very kind of like Highfather or Darkseid, which kind of sucks, but I don't know. Something about this just didn't strike the right nerve. I love like the slow mystery build, and I think it's very intense. And I get the story at the end with like ending the war and ending the story here, seeing the actual sacrifices Adam made, but something about this is just missing that emotional resignation that we got in the last issue. We had a really big reveal, and now it's just like, yeah, Adam's a terrible guy. He's a terrible guy from the beginning. Is that the point that you're trying to get across here? I don't know. Maybe it is. And we're siding with Elena, but I just think there's so many choices in this book I don't like. And I wish this one just did a little bit more to make me land, because the last couple pages were just like, Adam's got the gun on her. He's going to shoot her. She shoots him by accident. It's cliched. It's very predictable, and it gets Adam off scot-free from having any like real issues presented to him. And I think that kind of sucks. But I'm curious to see how the last issue is going to go, because you're doing a lot here that could be potentially weird. And I think the book's handling it in a creative enough way where I'm curious. Again, the artwork is such a highlight. Mitch Jarrett and Doc Shane are really just knock it out of the park. They are gorgeous artists, and they do some incredible work. I love it so much. But again, in classic Tom King fashion, the writing for the finale just can't always live up to the hype. And you know what? I'm not going to criticize that too much, because writing finale is hard. As somebody who is always writing just like his own personal stories, I understand the finale, the last moments are the hardest to write. But if it goes in a cliched route, I'm not going to complain. I just think like this is trying to like present Adam as one thing, and then it just made him into something else, so he can't become that thing again. It's a weird choice to make, but interesting enough. I bet you will see Aaliyah in the last issue. Kind of a fun book, but I don't know on some of these choices. Very weird stuff. So, Strange Adventures, issue number 11, I am going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.